In 28 BC, Augustus defeated his rival Mark Antony in a civil war and became the first emperor of Rome. 16 years later, his son Drusus subjugated many German tribes in the vast region of Germania. Germania was a land of forests and plains and was a constant thorn in Rome's side. One of the subjugated tribes, the Cherusci, were forced to send hostages of noble birth to Rome. One of them was Arminius. Arminius served in the Roman army, giving him key insight into their strategies and tactics. He also learnt Latin and became a Roman citizen. In 6 AD, Tiberius, governor of Germania and son of Augustus, marched south to deal with the Great Illyrian Revolt, leaving Publius Quinctilius Varus as acting governor. Varus was a competent administrator, but an incompetent commander. However, despite his forthcomings, he was appointed the new governor of Germania in 7 AD. In the summer of 9 AD, small contingents of Roman soldiers were being massacred by supposedly friendly Germans. This was, in fact, a plan to draw Varus from his main base of operations, orchestrated by Arminius, who had tired of Roman rule over his people. The plan worked, and Varus marched west, where news of a revolt had spread. However, Arminius had previously left to gather more troops, and had left behind some guides, who were secretly luring the Romans into a trap. The guides led the Romans through dense forest, stringing out the columns whilst the Germans waited in the surrounding woods. Then the Germans saw their chance, and the Romans were met with a hail of stones, javelins, and arrows. Then the Germans led charges against the Roman lines. After inflicting severe casualties, the Germans pulled back, the guides following them into the woods. Blind, the Romans marched onwards, their pace slowed by rain and mud. Harassed by the Germans constantly, the army was in shambles. Soon they came across a clearing and a war council was held. The cavalry will ride north, across the nearby bridge, in search of reinforcements, Varus ordered, and so it was. However, as soon as they crossed the bridge, they were attacked and obliterated by Germans. As soon as Varus and his senior commanders heard of this final defeat, they committed suicide, leaving the army leaderless. The now leaderless army fled west in an attempt to escape, but found themselves blocked by a wooden rampart. Whilst deconstructing it, another force swept in from the east. A horde of over 20,000 Germans, led by Arminius, crashed into the Roman rear, obliterating them all. Any who survived the massacre were enslaved and sacrificed to the Germanic gods. It is rumoured that when news of the defeat reached Augustus, he wandered through his palace, banging his head against the walls, shouting, "Publius Quinctilius Varus, give me back my legions!" Ironically, the battle could have been entirely avoided, as Arminius' uncle had informed Varus of the ambush, but Varus simply could not believe that Arminius would betray him. It would not be until the Battle of Adista Viso that the 15,000 Romans who died at Teutoberg would be avenged under the command of the famous general Germanicus. The Battle of the Teutoberg Forest remains to this day one of the worst Roman military defeats ever, and a symbol of Germanic resistance against Rome.